Tech mining. Today, I have the privilege and the opportunity to speak to the authors of this book, which came out over 2 decades ago, Dr. Alan Porter and Dr. Scott Cunningham, to review the what has basically happened in the last couple of decades, and to talk a little bit about some of the ideas that were in the tech mining book, to see if things have changed, or to see how much of this continues to be a valuable resource and how one looks at the management of technology. In chapter 7, query based on substantive terms, you discuss database search techniques that are based primarily on Boolean. As a side note, I was at gave a presentation a little less than a year ago, a couple hundred people, and I was talking about this topic, and I said, raise your hand when you know what I mean when I say Boolean. This was a youngish crowd of primarily college students, and only three people raised their hand and knew what Boolean was. And these were information searchers, the information professionals, They were studying information, and they didn't know what Boolean was. And that kind of hit me pretty hard because I realized that, basically, there was the death of Boolean uh, at the time of the rise of BERT, and then all the other ones that followed after BERT, these AI natural language search approaches. And so it's a natural language search. It's replaced BERT, replaced Boolean. How does something like the replacement of Boolean and this usage of these kind of natural language searches impact the approaches outlined in tech mining?
One thought pops to my mind. It'd be really nice to have data. Basically, something like an extensive survey of different R&D process players. So researchers, research managers, program managers like at National Science Foundation and so on, to learn who is using what right now, and then to take suitable steps to fill in the gaps and go beyond.
So back to BERT, which is, I was going to define BERT, but let's leave it there. I don't know if I can write that out. Bidirectional encoding representation and transformers or something. But anyhow, it's a deep learning model, which has been encoding language. And there's a whole field called BERTology, where they're saying, how in the world does it do what it does? So in that era of tech mining, we saw there was going to be syntax and logic, and then there was going to be semantics. And those two fields were entirely different. And there's a whole dispute of, natural language processing is never going to happen. The ARPA was saying, we'll pay some good money if you could just translate Russian for us. And that was, coming out of the cold age of the ice age of AI, where this wasn't happening, and there was a lack of confidence it was even going to happen. So two entirely split things. Now, when we watch what BERT is doing, they're all together. Semantics and syntax are all together, all at once, in a mysterious way inside those networks. So what I take from that is not that logic and Boolean logic isn't important, but it's interwoven in a very complex way that we're going to need to get on top of. So lest we go too far and say this is all semantics and variations in terms, we need to look deeper for these structures. We need to actually look harder. Boolean is not going to be enough. We've talked in the field about things like subject, action, object sort of framings to capture what's going on in this highly codified language inside patents. Institutional economists are talking about rules and modes of shoulds and oughts. So I really think there's a thing coming up where we're going to look at the structures and the argumentation of science, and we're going to be able to mine them better. This is what I hope for us to do collectively.
So the natural language search is really an interesting opportunity, does it? Because it combines that syntax and semantics at the same time, which is a really... And
there might be something fundamental about language that we're to learn. I think some of the surprise and outrage about large language models is us just confronting our own use of language, our own, it's nothing mysterious. It's just language chattered back to us that we're commonly using anyhow.
Yeah.
And so there's some new theory or pragmatic understanding of language that's coming out of this.
Interesting.